Good morning, welcome to Ag Talking Raw, where I talk raw about agriculture and whatever else is pissing me off in the world. Yes, pissing me off, but, not too much is making me mad today. I do have some weather coming in. I got a bunch of hay mowed. It's on the ground. I got a broken mower. The WD-2303 is busted, like busted bad, and that's okay. It is 10 years old this year. Believe it or not, we've only worn out the two drive hubs and the header, so it's time for the hydrostatic drive pumps to actually let loose, and they did. Of course, they don't break in the wintertime when you're not using it, but anyway, now I'm going to talk a little bit about what I saw on my trip to Ottawa, Iowa, and back. So, excuse me. What did I see? So, Pennsylvania, the corn is maybe this high along the Route 80 corridor. There really isn't any major growth. It's going to be very hard for that corn to hit knee-high by the 4th, which we are supposed to have some intense heat, so it's got a chance. That's the old adage, knee-high by the 4th of July, and you'll have a good crop, which, in today's world, that probably isn't even accurate because of the new varieties. I mean, you can buy 75-day corn that you can plant right now and still have, 150 to 170 bushels off of that corn. Soybeans double cropping is becoming commonplace in New Jersey, where when I was a kid, you were risking big time to do it after wheat. But just south here, 40 miles, and it was double crop. It was just double crop. That's all they ever did. So, Pennsylvania had short corn. Beans looked, little soybeans. There were the occasional decent, shoulder high, waist high corn, actually. Waist high corn in Pennsylvania, but it was a rare occasion, and the fields were wavy from wet weather, or even, the fertilizer ran off. It just wasn't that good. When I got to Ohio, I went through Akron, that way, out Route 80. And then we shot down, I think, 76 or 75, whatever road that was. I was following the GPS, so it's kind of hard to remember unless I was actually following a map. So anyways, I get into Ohio, and I was like, holy cow, these crops look horrible. It's just really wet there from what I can see, and it just seems like they got it in late. Now, when I got to Indiana looked pretty good. I'm like, wow, Indiana actually looks pretty good. They were irrigating in Indiana. I was like, wow. So we go from Pennsylvania being wet and now normalizing to Ohio, which is wet, and I don't know whether it's normalizing or not. They're still, what it looked like to me, they were still sticking beans in the ground. To Indiana, where the corn and the beans look pretty good, and they're irrigating. I don't know who's calling me, but that's not cool. Anyway, so you got this irrigation thing going on there, and then we come to Illinois, which I felt the crops looked pretty steady and equal right across the state. As we went across, I want to say 35, and then we go to Iowa. Now, Iowa, beautiful corn country, beautiful bean country, beautiful. There was a lot more wheat grown in Illinois and Iowa than I had expected. It's kind of weird. I always thought that wheat was more to the south, like Kansas and, even out in Nebraska, more towards the center of the country, not so far east as Iowa. I know I've seen wheat grown there before, but it seemed like there was an awful lot more wheat out there. And so you get to Iowa, and that's my neighbor asking if I'm putting a loader on today. So anyway, you get to Iowa, and there's, I don't know how big the fields are. They're just big. When I leave my area, I lose the judgment on the size of the field, because I'm used to small fields. Mostly the biggest field I have is actually 53 acres. The smallest fields are 3 acres, and guys in Iowa would mow them for lawns or brush hog them. It just wouldn't happen. So when you get out there, maybe the field was 150 acres or so, 160 acres, quarter section, whatever you want to call it. And out in the middle of it, 20, 30 acre lakes, 10 acres of lake, water, just water everywhere. And that was all the way out Route 30. I think we ended up back on 80. I think we did. It was weird. I did the no tolls. I actually paid not one dime in tolls the whole entire trip because my GPS is awesome. Somebody asked me on the channel if I had gotten a new map. I was like, no. I didn't get a new map. The maps that I have for my GPS are actually of the Philippines, and I think I have Thailand. I haven't been to Thailand, but Taiwan for sure. I have that one. Japan does not have a map for my GPS. You just can't buy them, and I wish I did because Japan's cars and the GPSs that are in their cars, it's all in kanji, and they speak Japanese to you. I think it did speak English to us, but I'd have to ask Teresa. So, anyways, we go out all the way to Ottawa. We get out towards Nebraska, towards the other end of the state, and it looked better. It didn't look as drowned out, like there weren't so many drowned out spots. And then, of course, we go up to Ottawa, and then we came back, and we got on Route 59, and worked our way up. We had lunch along the side of the road, which was a live stream there. And 2 seconds later, we get on the road, 5 minutes down the road, and bam, we're in a rainstorm. And from that point forward, there were lakes again. So I don't know what the distance between Route 80 and Route 20 is, but I'm pretty sure everything in between and probably that far south had these huge fields with huge bodies of water in the middle of them. That went on for about half the state, or 3/4 of the state, till we got to Independence. When we got to Independence, Iowa, off of Route 20, there was a really nice museum. I think it's the Iowa State Museum, Agricultural Museum. What a nice place to go. They had all kinds of stuff. It's like a history farm, living history farm, or whatever. They had the one-room schoolhouse, which you saw on my One Lonely Farmer channel. And, it was just really a nice experience. Me and Teresa spent, I don't know, a couple hours there, really. It's out in the middle of no place. There's a Comfort Inn, a movie theater, and this museum. I don't know what was on into Independence, but right along Route 20, there was that facility, I guess you want to call it, that museum. But really covered from automobiles from the early 1900s right on up to I think they went into the 50s with that. They didn't go any newer than the 50s. Obviously not. I think the newest thing was a 57 Thunderbird. They had a 54 Corvette there. I mean, if you know anything about Corvettes, which I really don't care for Corvettes because they're just Corvettes, but, Corvette's a Corvette. It's an old man's car because they're the only ones that can afford it. If you ever notice anybody driving a Corvette, it is a rare occasion to see anyone under the age of 60 driving one. They're expensive. But a 54 Corvette was before Chevrolet put a V8 in their cars and trucks. They were always 6 cylinders, 4 and 6 cylinders. And they did okay with the 6 cylinders. But that Corvette was a 54, so it had the 6-cylinder in it. Very valuable car. Actually, Carl, my driver, he had a friend, or maybe it was the guy that mentored him when he was young. He had a 54 Corvette, which had the 6-cylinder in it, and they were valuable. They're valuable today. But yeah, the 54 Corvette and 57 Thunderbird. Man, Thunderbird, I think, had the Y-block V8 in it. What a nice car. And after going through all the cars, Teresa said, so which car would you want out of all of these cars in here? And there was a bunch of them. Of course, I walked back over to that Thunderbird because the 57 T-Bird is pretty freaking awesome. I mean, really nice. The interiors were well thought out. The design of the car was just, I don't know, tits. I mean, everybody likes looking at tits, right? So the car was just really nice. So, we get on through that, and then you get on upstairs, and there's a lot of stuff there. I mean, oh, no, I'm wrong. 2012 was the newest car in there. It was a solar-powered car. It was neat. But anyways, you get upstairs, and then you get into the 1800s, the early 1800s. Early mid-1800s, from John Deere plows to, Chilled Plow Company out of Syracuse, New York. I think they were in there. They had all kinds of stuff. So if you're ever in the Independence, Iowa area along Route 20, stop in, take a look. It's $10 a person, and it's well worth the $20 for the two of us to actually go through the museum. We left there. And right up the road, we went to Dyersville, Iowa, and we went to the Ertl Toy Museum. I had been there about 18 years ago, 17 years ago, 17, 18 years ago, and enjoyed it then. And, of course, I enjoyed it the other day, too. It was just a really nice experience. They have a lot of cool toys from every era. I talked to a nice old fella in there. Looked like somebody whacked him upside the head with a pitchfork handle. He really had a black eye, and he fell. He was an old man, and he had fallen, and he was talking to his daughter, who was probably my age or a little older, and she's like, oh no, Dad, you can talk to him, it's okay. And we talked and talked and talked. Everybody knows that I can talk everybody's ear off. It's okay. I know some people out there think that I like to hear the sound of my own voice, which is not true. I actually don't like the sound of my voice. It's weird. But I have something to say, and the only way I can say it is to use my voice. So there you go. Anyway, I talked to him for quite a long time, and then we left there, and we went to a Menards. I think they call it Menards. I would call it Maynard's, but it's Menards. And what a neat store. It's like Home Depot, Walmart, and what the heck's the other one? Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart, all mixed, and the local grocery store all mixed into one. You can get anything there, from tools to root beer barrels, because guess what? I bought root beer barrels. I like them. But anyway, yeah, so we were at Menards. I called over to Cotton Top 3, Tim, and asked him where he was, because he was flying in for the farm day. And, he says, yeah, I just arrived at the How Farms Works. I'm here talking to the guys now. And I said, I'll see you in I think I was about 45 minutes out from there on Route 20. So we did. We drove right on up to it, talked to Cotton Top 3, and, of course, Travis from the rest of the story and Ryan from How Farms Work. They were really busy. They were like a couple of one-arm paper hangers, if you know what that is. They were really busy, and they were doing things, and we were probably hindering them. We probably should have left and went and did some geocaching or something. That's what Tim would have enjoyed doing. I've never done geocaching, and I think it's kind of cool. Tim is, or Cotton Top 3, he's really into it. I mean, he's even got a tattoo right here of a symbol, of geocaching. So he really likes it. And I'm sure I would too, but I've just never had the time or the chance to do it. But we had really good conversation. I like Tim. He's a great guy. Cotton Top 3, go check out his channel if you don't know it already. And, we were about the same age. I think he's a couple months younger than me. Might even be a couple months older than me. I was born in July. For some reason, I think he's either a month or two difference. We're both 45. He may have just clicked over to... I don't know. We're both 45. So I think I'm a little older. But anyways, it doesn't matter. Just had a really good time out there. Anybody that came and was at the event, I don't think there were any complaints. Last year, there was a couple of complaints about the farm day, and most of it was there's not enough for the kids to do. So there were some suggestions that Ryan should get a bounce house. Now, if you know, I wasn't going to be able to go this year. I had hay to make, and I had phone calls. I had hay to make and other things to do, and of course, I had to get this front end loader, and I had scheduled to get it so that it would coincide with the farm day. And if the weather was not cooperating for making hay, I was just going to go to the farm day. If it was like cooperating to make hay, I was just going to do the dead run out and back, in 3 days instead of approximately 4.5 days. 4.5 days is what it took me to do that trip. We left here at about 6 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday. We were in Ottawa, Iowa at 9:30 in the morning on Thursday. Friday, we took it easy, dodging storms, cooking out alongside the road, and just taking that Route 20 leisurely trip across Iowa, because there's a lot to see in Iowa. You may not think there's a lot to see in Iowa, but there really is. Beautiful state, and probably one of the most underappreciated states out there if you're agriculturally minded. I've been across the country, I've never been to Kansas. I'd love to go to Kansas. But I know some people came from Kansas when I went to Nebraska to the largest tractor parade. yes, in 2012, and they were good people. Really, really just good people to come all that way just to see little old me. I was a 3,000 subscriber channel at that time in 2012. Now I'm at like 108,000 on the One Lonely Farmer channel. And this one here is, creeping up. It's creeping up. We're closing in on 9,000 or 10,000 subscribers now. But anyway, yeah, so after the farm day was over, shook hands, almost was hoarse from talking all day. A lot of great people. Ryan posted his video, said there was between 400 and 500 people that came, which was awesome because I think what happened, the difference between last year and this year was, last year and this year, was that last year they all came at 10 o'clock. Boom, they were all there. And then they kind of, trickled away. This year, they seemed to come in and leave. So they were coming in, had things to do, and left. It was always a rotation of people. I mean, I saw that tractor running back and forth up to the upper pasture, or upper field, and it didn't seem like there were really that many people there all at once. But when I was calling the names for the door prizes, there were a lot of names that I called that those people were not there. So they had come, saw, put their name in, checked everything out, shook our hands, talked to us for a little bit, and boom, jetted out of there. So I could see that the rotation between 10 and 4 was pretty good. Yeah, and I hope Ryan made some money on the deal. It's a lot of preparation work to do. But anyways, what I saw on the way home from How Farms Work was pretty much darkness until morning, and the sun came up. We were in Indiana by that point, and I turned Teresa over to drive, and she drove clear across Ohio, and I think she drove clear across Ohio and into Pennsylvania, and then I took over from there and brought it the rest of the way home, which is good because it was storming across the whole entire state of Pennsylvania. A couple of close calls from idiots and myself being tired and driving, not too bad. Wore the brake pads off the front of my truck, so I got to change the brakes on the front of my truck, but other than that, it was all good. Got home, loader made it okay. The boxes of the parts and stuff were drenched, but they're waterproof, so there you go. Anyways, thanks for watching. Please comment, rate, and subscribe. And I'm sorry I haven't posted as much on here as I'd like to. It's just I'm very, very busy with everything else that I'm doing right now, and I figured I owed this to everyone that watches this channel also. So we'll see. I think we're going to see corn and soybean prices climb just because of what I saw as I went across the country. If it dries out in Ohio and Pennsylvania, their crops are still impacted negatively. If it dries out in Iowa, I think those crops are impacted negatively. I mean, you take 30 acres in the middle of a 100-acre field, that's a third of the field. That's a third of the field is just completely dead. And when I say dead, I mean dead. Anyways, thanks again. I'll see you next time. Hopefully, what is today? Today is actually Wednesday, my regularly scheduled day. So hopefully on Sunday, you'll see me here again. Thanks again.